brotherhood, multiplication, restoration. We are Sin Network. We're a family, planting churches together. Join us as we hear from leaders of this movement from across North America and discover what it really takes to plant churches everywhere for everyone. I am here with Ed Kang live in Phoenix at the Sin Network gathering here in the West. Ed, this is your first time here.
Yeah. In California, we just think California is the West.
Yeah, that's interesting because I thought it was, Pacific Standard Time, but it's actually Mountain.
Yeah.
So we were both off geographically.
Yeah.
But, it's good. It's good. Grace Point Church. How many of them do you have across North America?
Yeah, so I had to look that up for this. It's 18 churches, and then each church serves sometimes a couple of college campuses, so we're on 34 college campuses.
And that is all people who have been raised up indigenously.
Yeah.
From within.
Yeah.
And so you've sent them out. That's a lot of leaders. Are they all connected with your work in San Francisco?
Yeah, still, I think mostly they have so far still originated from our Berkeley church, but then out of our earlier church plants, they're now starting to send out leaders.
Okay.
So I think
you're a granddaddy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think the Austin church, the Riverside church, so that second generation is starting to happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So have you always just had that vision, that dream to do that? How did that come about?
I think actually this is a topic that's close to my heart because people think like, wow, you must have really had a vision for church planting or, a heart for the lost. And I think that's all true. But really when it comes down to it, it's this sense of I'm raising up guys who, like you preach the gospel, they become Christian, you raise them up, and then what's next?
Yeah.
And everybody needs a path, otherwise it's called a dead end, right? So what's next? And I got to a point where I realized, I think it was in my late 30s, I was in that stage, you're testing your strength and what you can do. And then I looked at all these guys and I was the bottleneck. I was the ceiling. Mm-hmm. And what's next for you isn't that you're just going to be under me, and what's next for you isn't that because you have all this capacity, you're going to build your career. And so because of my heart for the first generation of guys I was raising, I said, no, what's next for you is you're going to duplicate, what I went through. But as long as I'm around, you're not going to get to do that.
Yeah.
And so that was what it was. It was very person-centric. It was that guy, and I wanted to see them out there sort of, stretching their wings and doing the scary thing of planting churches. And so I think if I really kind of dug down to the core, for me, it was that personal regarding what I wanted to see happen in their lives.
That's what I love about you. I mean, one is the passion that you have for raising up from within. The people is just kind of having the desire to see what's best for the people. And so that's one. The second one is this idea of not wanting to cap them, wanting to get off. Every time I'm talking to you, it seems like, oh, I need to get out their way. I'm the one who's slowing them down. And it's you're awesome. You're not slowing them down, but that's what you have to do. When you talk about leading leaders, that is the heart that you have, I think, is critical to do it. Do you think that's something that's just kind of natural to you, or is it something that you have cultivated over the years?
I think for me, it's a combination of just strategic thinking and kind of personal. I'm just kind of shy about me being some big leader, and I really think that if guys are going to grow at the rate that they should be growing, I need to be growing way faster. Mm-hmm. There's just something about, we experienced this with our youth kids, they're slow to move and always griping about this or that. And then they go to Cambodia and they're preaching and they're doing awesome things because all the teachers are gone. And it's like maybe one chaperone out there, and so as long as, and maybe it's an Asian culture thing, as long as there's somebody in authority in the room, I think just that fact has a subtle shrinking effect on them. But it's not about it's not the simplistic thing of me getting out of the way, because I think that's easy to say, and I think it's harder. Is what I try to do is get really busy clearing the forest.
Okay.
It's a sense that we're this little farm, and we're surrounded by forests, and I need to clear the forest so that people can see further, and so it's sort of creating an environment in which leaders can just emerge.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever said, like, okay, I've got my eyes on that guy, like, oh, he's got leadership potential. I think that's fraught with subjectivity, and you're likely to miss that. And I think what's really the best scenario is you create an environment in which guys will get multiple reps trying to, because in college ministry, this is simpler because every fall, like 1/4 of the campus arrives, and we send these guys out there. It's sort of like a church planting experience, within our own church. They go out to campus and they have a team, and they motivate the team and execute on ministry plans to grab, hopefully unchurched freshman guys and get them engaged, get them saved, get them raised up in 4 years. And so if I create an environment where a lot of that can happen, then some of those guys are going to say, I want to do this for the rest of my life, and they'll have fruit, and they'll have a track record.
So as you have been getting into church planning, what does it look like for you as a leader to clear the forest or create an environment for leaders? What are some practical things or some principles that you use to kind of with that mentality?
Well, again, I just feel like I'm just so spoiled being in this beautiful niche of collegiate church planting that I frankly think that everybody should get in on. But it's easy because it's about, it's about being in a huge school.
Right, but there's lots of people who are doing college ministry that are not doing the type and seeing the type of reproduction that you see. So there is a level of what you said, that you're clearing the forest, you're creating that environment. So like, what are those things that you're doing specifically to clear the forest?
I think, so I suppose a collegiate ministry too can be led in a like top leader genius with assistants model. What I've tried really hard to do is I think I was in my late 30s when I stopped teaching college students. Even though I felt like I was at the peak of my game, I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to break it up. And so just keep breaking up so it doesn't become a multi-layered pyramid. I don't want that for myself, leading in that kind of institutional way, so that they keep getting the reps of doing something like reaching out to some guy around the dining hall or a basketball court, and then bringing them. And when they do the ministry like that, either as upperclassmen in college, or in our case, a lot of times just a few years out of college, and they go back into the campus and they do this, then I think they just have this notion that, like, I want to be doing this. And then we sort of reach sort of a saturation point at a particular campus, and we'll identify the next campus. Like, let's go there. So far for us, it's been large public schools. And so let's go there, and we take scouting trips, and once they get on and they meet students, they're like, okay, I want to come here. And then there's a language within our church of, hey, none of us should be here in 5 years. We should be out there planting churches.
So you're literally going out, instead of, you said earlier, you're not necessarily looking for, oh, that's a leader or that's a leader, because that's subjective, but there is a kind of a mission that you're going out. Where's our next plant? Where's our next place? And you're clearing it in that way. You're creating opportunities for people, for God to call more to go to the field, and you're kind of saturating it back at home base. All right. I love that. And so, and what else, the other thing that you stated in there that I love was, you said you were at the top of your game in the late 30s, the top of your game, but while you were at the top of your game, you're like, I still need to clear the way. I need to step down and provide other opportunities.
Yeah.
What did you move to? I mean, go somewhere else? What do you do instead of
Well,
that?
in our particular case at that time, in our main ministry, flagship ministry at Berkeley, our main sort of large group, like point of entry, was what we call the Friday night Bible study. The Bible study was in the middle, there was dinner, and there was fun activity afterwards, and we'd drag them through the Bible study so they attend the fun activity. And that was a winning formula for a while. And so that was, I think, the most critical teaching slot.
Yeah.
And I broke it up into two, and two guys teach, and I just did the Sunday.
Okay.
So I was still teaching. I think my biggest teaching is just to the staff.
Okay.
And by staff, I mean lay staff, because we don't have a whole lot of paid staff. But yeah, those are the guys that I usually teach. And I think we start kind of pitching the vision early on, even to undergrads, because if you're in the college environment, even college students are just kind of there for the quote unquote college experience. And, but I think a lot of them have a deep sense of problem with their generation. And so when we pitch this vision, like, hey, like what you're experiencing here, they need it at every college campus in the country. They get it right away. And then college students, they form friends by their peer class, class of whatever.
Yeah.
And if you lay on top of that friendship and the forging experience and the intense experience the college experience can be, and then you just plant a vision in that group, and they want to go as a friend group.
Yeah.
Like guys who want to do something crazy together.
Right.
And so that's how U Chicago was started in 2018. It was class of 2015 guys. And they said, hey, before any of us gets married, let's do something crazy. Let's go to Chicago and start a ministry in this like elite, hard campus. And so 7 guys, just single guys, got 2 apartments in Hyde Park and just started. And now they have about 30 students.
Man. So you talk about in Chicago, and you're in lots of other places, Rutgers, you're in other places, and 18, is it a one size fit all? Like when you're talking about leading these leaders, is it like you spend equal amount of time at each one of these places, equal amount of time with each one of these leaders? I know that there have to be some leaders that require more time and some less time. How do you differentiate between that, and how do you kind of divide up your time in leading so many different leaders?
Oh man, I'm not very systematic at all. Well, one thing we do is we have a thing called a monthly pause, and that's probably gonna have to move to less than a monthly, but every month we get everybody together. So all the team leads, we come together for 3 days every month. So definitely I'm getting FaceTime with everybody.
So they literally fly into a location once a month, okay?
Yeah. So then we split that up last time into East Coast and West Coast because the flight times just back and forth. So then Kelly and I went to the East Coast and met with all the East Coast people. I think, like I'm not really good at that, about keying in on each individual person and providing sort of coaching. I think what I'm better at is like creating the environment and throwing them out there, and hopefully, they'll grow into it.
No, I think that's wisdom. I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, because like for me, usually when someone asks me, hey, will you mentor me or will you coach me? I usually say, I don't do anything one-on-one.
Yeah.
I like to do it in groups because it's more than just simply building off of me. It's like when you get that peer-to-peer dynamic.
And for us, it's
on.
couples. It's by couples. For us, it's like the husband and wife have to be on the same page. And a lot of our times we do what we call group marriage therapy, hey, what's going on? What's hard about leading together? And, we do everything in cohorts.
So you do this once a month. Are they themed? Like, do you know what you're going to be talking about each time? Or is it just kind of like,
we know what
where
we're
you
going to
guys
talk
at?
about like before it arrives, but usually there's no set curriculum. There just seems to be like a theme for like what we're grappling with. One of the things that we're grappling with, we do a lot of tear sheeting and try to like figure things out. Sometimes we'll read a book like Team of Teams and say, how does this apply to us? But one of the things that we're grappling with now, I think a lot of church leaders are grappling with, is just people aren't showing up to live events anymore because everything comes to them,
Yeah.
And so the same methods yielding poorer results. And so how can we kind of, regroup and retool So, and their social anxiety, so they don't like large, noisy groups. And so our attractional model needs to be kind of um, re-engineered in some way. So we've been grappling with that.
So, okay, let's take that. Like, people are not showing up for live events anymore. This is a topic that you have, and you're going in, you're having one of your monthly meetings, right? Do you kind of set the agenda, for that? Or do you, like, allow me to be a fly on the wall for that weekend? Like, what does that weekend look like as you're leading these leaders?
Well, we have like a getaway house, so it's sort of like a retreat. We cook together, we eat meals, we sit around the table. People kind of know in advance what sort of things we're going to talk about, and they come kind of armed with the information and observations, and we say it's like connecting the dot experience where everybody has a dot and they don't know the rest of the dots, and we all kind of bring it together, and maybe something will emerge. So when we're in our kind of problem solving mode, it's sort of like that. And I'll introduce the problem. We'll have what we do: think, write, and share. Everybody sort of writes their own piece for like 5 minutes. We share. We'll group them up, and sometimes by single gender, sometimes like different groupings. People will grapple with the issue, come up with a couple of solutions, and it's iterative like that. So that's like some of our sessions are like that. Other sessions are a lot more just going through scripture together, praying together.
Yeah.
So it varies.
That's powerful. So gotta ask, I mean, like, is the mother church funding everyone to come in, or each church individually got to buy the tickets? Like, how are you doing? I'm doing that.
We're funding. So we're technically all separate churches, but I think we're probably something like a multi-site really in how we function.
Yeah.
So we pool funds, we support the church plans, and all the travel comes out of a central fund.
Okay.
And we made a decision early on, man. We are not going to skimp on travel because relationships are so important, and it's lonely out there. So the monthly pause time, it's like they like seeing each other way more than I think just like our time, like the content of it. It just doesn't matter what the content is. It's just coming together.
And how many years have you been doing that, the monthly pause?
Since 2017 is when we first started on the East Coast. We're all only on the West Coast. Yeah. And 2017, we sent 150 some people across 5 cities in the East Coast, from New Jersey to North Carolina and Pittsburgh. And so when that happened, we knew, okay, so we really got to come together, figure this out.
I love that. It's hard to do that, but you said you value something more.
Yeah.
You value relationship, not going to skimp on travel. And that's one of the things those are the types of decisions that you have to make.
Yeah.
What are some other hard decisions that you have to make as you're thinking about leading leaders, and even as you think about the next 5 years for you, and as you're starting to get grandbabies and great-grandchildren, like, how is that going to impact what you're doing?
What's hard is when to say, hey, this isn't working, because the flip side of creating an environment and seeing who will rise up is people do rise up, and you're thinking, okay, well, it's doing well here, they're going to do well out there, but sometimes they don't. It's very kind of situational. And so when do I say that, like, hey, I think you should step down from that role, and we want to make that as painless and as like loving as possible, and find a role for them that's going to be very significant, and to take the sting of shame out of that as well. I think that's really hard. On the other hand, I don't want to like be too selective and so elitist, because we have a mismatch in the rate of people who are willing to go, but they're troopers, and then the people who can lead that team. And so then we err on the side of like, okay, these guys want to go, like, you're experienced, you have a relationship with these guys, why don't you try to lead them? We err on that side, because otherwise things get backed up. And there's a certain rate at which this has to happen. Otherwise, when things get backed up, then people start to lose the vision.
Yeah.
You know?
Final question is real quick. I just want to know your life next 5 years. What do you see as you continue to lead leaders? What do you see your role morphing to?
So right now, Berkeley, the mothership is big, and I need to start thinking about succession before other people think about succession. Before I start slurring my words. Mm-hmm. So I think next 5 years, we're gonna have to leave Berkeley for somewhere else, and we're gonna have to set up like a Jedi Council somewhere else, and modularize Berkeley.
Okay.
So that's my big challenge.
Yeah.
I think our system is over dependent on Berkeley. Berkeley's over dependent on me at Kelly. So then to break that down and make a smooth transition to what's next. Yeah. And what's next is a little vague. It's not that clear. Otherwise, we'd be making steps to get there. So that's what we got to figure out.
Man.
Yeah.
Well, there's always a place for you in Atlanta. There's a couple of colleges there, a couple of places.
Oh,
so
man. Yeah, Georgia Tech.
There's always a home.
Georgia
there's
Tech,
always a home
Emory,
for you.
UGA. Yeah. So, we got our sights set on those.
Well, Ed, man, I really appreciate you. Thank you for sharing this. I mean, leading leaders is something that you do, and just your humility is just, it blows me out every time. So thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks, Toddy.
You have been listening to We Are Sin Network, a resource of the North American Mission Board. For more information about today's podcast and other relevant resources, visit sendnetwork.com.